Alien girl's shirt torn during robbery of her mother's amulet, but one human fights back. The evening glow of the twin moons spread silver light over the crowded streets of Seratha Prime, a bustling trade world where alien merchants and human travelers mingled under glowing neon signs. At the heart of this chaos walked Lyra, a young alien girl with luminous violet skin and hair that shimmered like liquid silver. Her attire was simple, but at her neck hung a relic, a gleaming amulet, etched with symbols older than any human language. It had belonged to her mother, passed down through generations. Lyra walked nervously through the bazaar, clutching the amulet as though it were a lifeline. She wasn't alone. Thieves haunted these streets, and the artifact drew eyes like a beacon. The robbery. The crowd shifted suddenly, voices rising, and before she could react, 3 masked figures slipped from the shadows. They moved with purpose, surrounding her. "Nice jewel you've got there," one hissed in the guttural accent of the outer colonies. Before Lyra could protest, the largest of them lunged, grabbing at her shirt collar. The fragile fabric tore down the seam, exposing the amulet as it clattered against her skin. "No, stop!" she cried, clutching the broken edges of her shirt, her heart racing. The thieves laughed, cruel and unbothered by the fear in her voice. "Hand it over, girl, and maybe we won't hurt you." Panic surged. Lyra stumbled backward, clutching at her mother's relic with trembling hands. The amulet wasn't just a keepsake. It carried the memory core of her people, a shard of history that, if lost, could never be replaced. Human steps in. From across the market, Kade, a human trader with dust-stained boots and a satchel heavy with tools, had been watching. He had seen robberies before on Seratha Prime and usually kept his distance. But something about the girl's wide, desperate eyes, and the way the thieves ripped her clothing as though she were nothing, stirred anger in him. "Hey!" he shouted, striding forward. His voice cut through the noise of the market. "Leave her alone." The thieves sneered. "Walk away, human. This doesn't concern you." But Kade didn't stop. In one swift motion, he swung his satchel off his shoulder and hurled it into the chest of the nearest thug. The impact knocked the man off balance. Lyra gasped, stumbling further back as the others turned toward Kade, snarling. The fight. The first thief lunged, but Kade was faster. He ducked under the swing and drove his fist into the attacker's ribs. Another rushed him from the side, blade flashing. Kade caught the wrist, twisting until the weapon clattered to the ground. The market erupted into chaos, vendors shouting, crowds scattering. Lyra pressed herself against a pillar, clutching the torn fabric of her shirt closed with one hand and the amulet with the other. Her breath came fast, heart pounding with terror and awe. The third thief, the largest, growled and seized her arm. "Forget him, take the jewel." Lyra screamed as he yanked, nearly dragging her from her feet. The amulet strained against its chain, the metal biting into her skin. And then Kade was there. He tore the thief's grip away, shoving him back with a strength born not of training but desperation. The human stood between Lyra and the robbers, chest heaving. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. The thieves hesitated. Blood trickled from one's lip. Another nursed a bruised wrist. The crowd had not returned, but sharp eyes peered from alleys and stalls. Witnesses. The thieves weren't ready to die for a single jewel. With a final curse, they melted back into the shadows, leaving the marketplace eerily quiet. Aftermath. Lyra trembled, clutching the amulet to her chest. Her shirt hung torn, fabric fluttering in the night breeze, but she hardly noticed. All that mattered was that the relic was safe. Kade turned, catching his breath. His knuckles were raw, and sweat dampened his brow. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. She shook her head, her luminous eyes wide. "No. You saved me." Kade shrugged, though his heart still pounded. "Couldn't stand by and watch. That thing must be important to you." Lyra looked down at the amulet, fingers brushing its carved surface. "It belonged to my mother. She gave it to me before she died. Holds her memory. If they had taken it, I would have lost her forever." Her voice cracked, and for the first time since the robbery began, tears slipped down her cheeks. Kade softened. He pulled a cloth from his belt and held it out. "Here. For your shirt. At least until you get home." Lyra accepted it, wrapping the cloth across her chest with trembling hands. She managed a small smile. "You risked your life for me, human." "Why?" Kade hesitated, then gave a half-smile. "Because sometimes someone has to fight back. Even if it's just one person. A strong ending." As the moons rose higher, the market slowly returned to life. Vendors peeked from their stalls, whispers spreading about the human who had stood up to thieves. Lyra walked beside Kade, her torn shirt hidden beneath his makeshift covering, the amulet shining safely against her skin. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt a spark of safety, of hope. Perhaps not all was lost in the galaxy, not while strangers like Kade still chose to stand against the darkness. And though they came from different worlds, that night in the bazaar bound them together, a violet-skinned alien girl and the human who fought to protect her mother's memory. The bazaar gradually came back to life as the shadows of the thieves disappeared into the alleys. Vendors peeked nervously from their stalls, whispering about the fight, their gazes drifting toward Lyra and the human who had defended her. Lyra still clutched the torn edges of her shirt, but her grip on the amulet was firm. She turned it over in her palm, letting the ancient etchings catch the moonlight. A wave of relief washed over her. Her mother's memory, her people's history, was safe. Kade flexed his bruised knuckles, wincing slightly. He wasn't a soldier, just a trader with more debts than friends, but in that moment he had fought like someone with everything to lose. When he caught Lyra's eyes, shimmering with gratitude, he felt something shift inside him. "You should be more careful," he said softly, offering a half-smile. "Not everyone here would step in." Lyra's voice wavered. "And yet you did. You could have walked away. But you didn't." Kade shrugged, but there was weight behind his words. Sometimes all it takes is one person to stand between what's right and what's easy. She looked at him a long moment, then nodded. The cloth he had given her kept her modesty intact, but it was his act of bravery that truly covered the fear that had threatened to consume her. As they walked side by side through the bazaar, whispers followed. Rumors of a human who fought for an alien girl, of courage shown where none was expected. Lyra's hand brushed the amulet at her chest. For the first time in years, she felt not just her mother's presence, but a sense of hope for the living as well. That night, under the twin moons, a bond was forged. Fragile, unexpected, but unbreakable.